Here we go. It's time for another sprint zone, and this one is for 11:18. I've decided to do something a little different here. I'm going to do all 3 sprint zones plus in a continuous video. As you can see on, or at least I can see, this is like 40 minutes of total footage, but I'll be fast forwarding through some of that, and let's get the party started. So we're going up County Road 5, and as we normally do, we pull off to the left side, and that was actually pretty good, watching Carrie and Jamie coming back, pulling both off, coming back like they're supposed to, instead of people going left and right, which keeps us from going forward and getting all wonky. And as the previous week, this is actually not bad. People are more or less 2x2, keeping a reasonable distance. Everyone is handlebar to handlebar, more or less. Their horizontal distance is pretty good. Little bit of space between the people in front of me, but that's not bad. And here's another example of people coming from the rear. We see Fred and Isla drifting back once again. And you can notice how nice the double pace line is. No one's doing any wonky wiggle waggle stuff if someone went off to the left and to the right. And this is something that I hear they do it in Europe a lot, and I've done it before, but on roads like this where it's not a NASCAR track, it's better to, do the both come off to the left. And it's something that we have to indoctrinate new riders into the group when they do that. And I've rambled on before. New riders come to the group and they have their culture. And some people haven't gone to kindergarten and can't follow patterns. So if there are 3 people in front of you and those 3 groups all pull to the left, and then you decide that you're going to want to pull to the right because, you're some mighty Cat 3 cyclist or something and that you think you know better, that's not how we do it here. And if you got any questions, you should ask, because people need to understand what people are going to do. It need to be predictable. This is why we have rules of engagement, etc. Now, they're a good example of people coming down off of the left-hand side. Very nice. I personally would drift back a little bit faster and then accelerate near the end because I don't want to be hanging out there as a target, but that's just me. And, baby steps until we get there. Heading into the sprint zone, the power looks reasonable. My 30-second power, like 115, that's good. John's like 120 something. Ron's like, in the 200. So Ron must be pretty close to the front. Yeah, he is at the front. And we're looking at the Ron cam. Huge difference in wattages. Like, I'm basically 100 watts, 30-second less than the person up front. And so for you hangers on that think you're really doing something by hanging on, you're really like 100 watts less. Just so you know, right? And to appreciate how much work is being done up front on your behalf. And now it is time to enter melee zone number 1. It looks like Doug might be up front, followed by, it looks like Ron up there near him. I'm looking rearward. Everyone's made it around the corner. And of course, I should thank John, JC, and Ron Kennedy for their telemetry. And of course, Ron for his video as always. Passing Michael there, and he was doing the hand wave to wave people through. Not my favorite thing, people taking their hands off their handlebar to wave people through. I prefer using the elbow, or mostly people can tell that's what you're doing. Or maybe I'm just more seasoned. Anyway, time for the attack. So Carrie looks over, like nobody's coming. Ron's like, I'm not going. The 2 people in front of me are just kind of letting these people go. Eric is up the road. He violated the rules of engagement, so he's way, way off the front. So Carrie goes after Doug, and I think Carrie's going to go after Eric. Sometimes it's nice to have a carrot up there, but, if you really want to play and consider yourself part of the actual sprint, you need to be back with everybody else. And the reason I say that is because, it just causes people to fight for position in the corners, blah, 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 and it turns into TTH, which isn't bad, but this isn't TTH or even OCR. And now, so I'm sitting up here like second position next to Mike, and Greg, and I don't know, the new guy, they're in front of me, and it was like, they were not doing that much. And I was kind of annoyed at this point. I'm like, thinking Top Gun, ice, fire, or clear. because they're just sitting up there letting these people go up the road. And I'm like, okay. And maybe looking at my power, it wasn't that bad. So as soon as we get to the front, I'm next to Mike Weeda. And Mike doesn't watch these videos, so I'll talk about him. He jacks up the wattage. And I'm like, okay, I will match him, but this is not what I wanted to do. And inside my head is like, okay, Mike, you want to dance? You want to do this dance? You want to go head to head with me at the front and see what happens? All right, bring it, bruh. Bring it. Because I know he's not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with me because he is not one of the big men. Neither am I, but I can do more than him. So I pull off, and we get a little bit of a rotation going on, and I know I've frosted some of his wattage. But people are starting to pull through, and I noticed like Rick Lutz was up near the front there. Very impressive as he makes his showing. And yeah, there he is. You know, a bit player now showing himself at the front of the group. I'm coming back, and like Doug is like next to me for the longest time, going 3 wide. In my opinion, a waste of energy. But maybe that attack he made was a waste of energy, or he hadn't felt the rhythm of the group or couldn't pull anybody with him because he hasn't got any street cred yet. People don't know him. They don't know, like, hey, bruh, like, you got any kind of strength? Why am I going to blow myself up? But in any case, we settle in, and we're on the hunt. And we know that it's some big men up the front. So Carrie's dangerous. And the fact that no alarm bells went off when Carrie went off, you know, was just like alarming. And yeah, we got JC back here. And that's, you know, some of the problem. And you see it in all these superhero films. Avengers, you know, if you like your Marvel, DC, they're waiting for somebody to save them. But in the real world, ain't nobody gonna save anybody. Except we got Supers here today, JC, so we might be saved. In any case, folks are working up front. I'm kind of sitting in. It's so nice back here. And there's Mike. I don't like when he waves his hand like that. Don't like that. There's the salute. You could wiggle the elbow. Like, it's always risky when you take your hands off the handlebars. You know, it's like you hit a bump or something stupid, but we'll allow it. But I'm going to just gripe because it's my video and whatever. Looks like Doug and Ron having some sort of like palling around there. I see that a lot when people want to sync up and chat, but this is the sprint zone. So I kind of moved up a little bit here because I see some danger. There are a lot of people that aren't quite on the wheels up front, and I don't want to be gapped off by people. I mean, pretty much everybody up here is pretty strong. Brendan Strong, he's not one to accelerate though, but he seems to be getting a little more assertive these days. But I smell danger here, and I need to go. Nobody else seemed to think they could smell it. But you know, you use some savvy and you see what's going on, and you know, yep, there it goes. JC to the front, and you see Lethargy, Justin, you know, who's kind of riding coattails. He's not made his presence known that much. Justin Hack, you know, strong rider, OCR, TTH, TFR, SOR, WR rider, strong guy. But maybe he's like sticking to his zone 2 plan or some such. But now the hunt is on. So we got Eric and we got Carrie. And these are dangerous, strong men. And if it weren't for JC up here, I would think that we'd have almost no chance of bringing them back. But we got JC, and he is just a ramming and a thumping. And look at his 30-second power. 323. The low 300. Look at this. And everybody is strung out. 27 miles an hour. And we can barely see the prey, being Eric and Carrie. We know they are up there, but they are being hunted. And maybe they don't know, and maybe they're running scared. And it would have been nice to have a camera up there to see what those guys were doing, but their days are, in fact, numbered. JC just throwing out the power, and you can looking rearward, you can see people are being dispatched. Even myself, and was an exercise in mental toughness. My heart rate now at 180 beats per minute. Even JC's 120. Got Danny sitting second position, Daniel right behind him, and I am thankful to be in the 3rd position, 4th position, and the draft is much better. And still, my heart rate 182. And this is an exercise, and I don't want to be here, but I'm going to hang on as long as I can. And this is like no joke. John 30-second power, 390. That was most impressive. And that little inflection there, like tailed off a few people. And that's what I like to see. I like to see a good selection. And there is our quarry. We can see them. Carrie and Eric, they are not long, and they are hunted by the Terminator. And it's like JC has the tenacity of the Terminator T2000 polyalloy metal matrix beast, and he will not be denied his prize. And the rest of us are just hanging on. Fred back there looking strong. Marcelo sitting in the draft. And I believe Ron is back there. Yeah, way back there getting some good draft. And you can see Ron's power, 155 versus mine, 210 for 30 seconds. Seems a big difference if you're sitting back there further. Somebody popped off. That might be Greg finally giving up the ghost way back there as the selection is continuously being created differently. And the catch has been made. Well done, well done. And just as in the Tour de France, JC stamping his authority on the group, not just sitting in like I would do, but going by and letting everyone know, yeah, and pardon my language here, you are my bitches. That's right, I own you. Anyway, Danny can't hold the pace at this point. Fred goes whipping by, questionably on the yellow line, arguably there, and not wanting to take anybody with him. And it's my turn. I'm like, all right, you won't do that, brah? I got that. So even though I was in the 180s, I was able to bring back our quarry up front and have a nice position sitting in behind Fred. Ron in there now, looking strong, right next to me, positioning himself. JC coming back, finally getting the well-deserved rest that he has. Heart rate 161, so he's drifting back. Let's see what kind of recovery he will be able to get after this one. Eric going to the front, perhaps trying to swing it around a little bit to show he's still relevant in these days. But let me tell you, bruh, you know, if JC's here, you ain't relevant. Well, you might be relevant if you want second place, because that's what you're racing for. Okay, maybe that's just my opinion. No, I don't think it's my opinion. Anyway, everybody's sitting in here trying to recover. My heart rate finally down to 179, and I am praying that this is going to be over. Praying that I'm going to be able to maintain contact, and we'll see what people have near the end. My heart rate's still 181, 30-second power, 220 something. Ron's 30-second power, 260. That's right, he's next to me in the win there. Daniel looking strong right on Eric's wheel. Fred kind of in a weird position. Fred likes to sit out in the wind and waste energy. Like the best draft would have been to a little bit of the left of Daniel because it's a slight echelon. But if you want to waste your power out in the wind and just be like not as strong as you could be, that's okay. Because that's what separates the people that are strong. And there's the JC attack, 700 plus watts. And there is no answer. When he came from hot, no answer here. Eric has nothing. Daniel has nothing. Fred has nothing. And people just pushing up here. And I'm going to just try to maintain some contact here. And I know Ron is kind of boxed in at this point. He can't really go anywhere. And you can see everybody's still there. It's a very small selection as we push forward. Looking at the Ron cam, Daniel and Eric is up there throwing it down. And we know it's no joke here. Even my heart rate's going up to 183, which might be the high for this event. And it's the final push here. Let's see what we can do. 30-second power, 260, and it's increasing. As in my instantaneous power was over 400. And here's a slight little push, a few matches being burned here as I make it past. It looks like Fred, and now time to shut it down. Yeah. So, I made the top 5 or 6. Made the selection. That was good. Pretty happy about that one. It doesn't get much better than that. And that was a good time. That was a good time. And you could see most of the heads of state here. There's some people that never saw the pointy end of the stick that rode coattails, but they, in fact, were there. And there was some congratulations to Eric, even though technically he violated the rules of engagement. But it's a fun chase. And it's all about, working hard. So that was good. Coming to the turnaround point here. And let's just fast forward some of this video because we don't really care. Heading back towards the second sprint zone after the turnaround. And this is where we try to get ourselves back together. And there's some people that are just out, and maybe the Ron cam's blocking it. Maybe I should move that are out in the center of the road here when they don't need to be. Like, you want to be like a record player. When the needle is done, it goes to the edge. Like, there's no need to be out in the middle of the road unless there's a reason to be out in the middle of the road. And at worst, you want to be 2x, because at least that gives cars a shorter distance to pass. But, we're trying to coagulate. I think it's like people pushing the pace. I think Fred's up there pushing the pace a little bit during the recovery zone. I'm like, yo, bruh, if you want to go fast, you should throw a few more matches down in the sprint zone and do a little something. Because I'm going to tell you something about your training. You're like one speed. You don't have a huge anaerobic burst. You just want to go hard all the time. And I don't think you're going to like help your mitochondrial efforts in building. You're just going to hammer hard all the time. Like the term hammerhead is what I would use to describe the way you ride. But, if it makes you happy, that's okay. But this was the time to like regroup or whatever. And I think I might have had to go up and like wrangle some people, because even though they think they're doing something, the big mass, there's air being pushed from behind, you go pretty hard. But let's get into the second sprint zone here as we near things. Yeah, and this is like 40 minutes of like footage. Oh, shot of Ilka there in the white. Welcome back. It looks like there was Mitch mugging for the camera a little bit. Good position there as people, are starting to tighten things up a little bit. And there's the, we're heading towards the bridge. Yeah. So here's the preamble. Michael was up the road a little bit, kind of pushing the pace. Here he is like waving his hands. I don't like that. I do not like that, taking your hands off the handlebars to tell people what they can already gather. Because it makes people weak, They look for somebody to tell you, like, what are they doing? You should be able to, like, figure it out. Like, signals like you're turning, that's a good thing. But to wave people through, the elbow is, like, good enough. I mean, you don't see the pro riders taking their hands off. It's not efficient. And it's not as safe. And when we're trying to be as safe as possible, that's what I like to see. Sorry if I'm hard on you, Michael, but, that's the deal. All right, second sprint zone. I think there might have been some people up front. Maybe Isla and like somebody else that are up the road here. They turned around early, and I'm glad we did not chase. Not much chasing here. There's some relaxing as we like coagulate. There's Michael kind of pushing a little bit hard up here. I think everybody's probably around the corner. Let's see, what do I got? 140 watts, 30 seconds. Yeah, clearly I'm waiting for people to coagulate. And you can see the riders up the road here. And my goal here is I'm going to do a little bit of work. I'm going to take it up maybe the low 200s and at least keep everybody honest for a little bit. So I'm out front. I know a lot of people don't want to be out front. Good shot of Justin there, pushing some wind. I'm at like, okay, 30-second power, like 200. Yeah, instantaneous power, 240. Yeah, and that's just where I want to hold it. This is pretty comfortable for me. And you can see here, and like my heart rate's in the 160s. That's about my lactate threshold these days, 166, and that's good. Creeping up a little bit, but nowhere near the 180 that we were in that previous sprint. Everyone's pretty relaxed here. JC's power, look at that. 30-second, only 167. So you can see the advantage. Not only is JC slippery, but sitting back, you'd save so much energy. And this is why even the weak are allowed to, or able to, like sit in here. So I've got no aspirations on this one. So I'm more than happy to just kind of sit out here and get my work in, because it gets to be a cluster. There's really no selection on this one till later on. And there's not a lot of people that are willing to give up and their chances for a lot of work. And here we go. We got Greg going to the front to do some work. And I don't know why people are not following him. And this is like the week. Like, here we go. What is this gap? And I think that was you, Mitch. Like, yo, bruh, why wasn't you up there? And like, he's just kind of sitting out there, not following the wheels. Maybe he's got AFib right now. And I could have sat him. I'm not going to sit in. I'm going to go all the way back. And maybe like, Justin should have jumped in there. But you can see a little bit of lack of coordination. There's Jamie, a little smile for the camera. Then we got a shot of like Matt from the Fort Collins Cycling Club wearing the TFR kit and that bright fluorescent Dayglow high-vis yellow. Love it. So I slot in here, and the draft isn't all this good back here. I'm like, I think people should be a little bit closer. Like Brian up there in the red, I think he could be a little bit closer. And Matt, he's a little guy. I'm not getting a ton of draft off of him, so you can still see my 30 seconds above 200 watts. And I'd really, really much rather be up there, because you can look at JC, 140 watts. for 30 seconds because he's way up in there. So people would like keep it a little bit tighter, and there was a slight wind coming off my left shoulder. So I'm not getting that much draft. So at this point, it's like some point I tried to like move up a little bit because I just couldn't be back there anymore. And now we switched to the Ron cam because the way I edited this video, I didn't render all this with mine with a 360 camera because I really wasn't planning on doing all 3 sprint zones. But I figure as an experiment, let's go. So now we got a good shot of Ron. Looks like JC at the front, 30-second power, 300 watts plus. And Ron is in a perfect position as we're about to catch those that were up the road that violated the rules of engagement, that didn't really want to participate. But they do have an effect on the group. They provide a carrot for good or bad. Isla being caught and dispatched. And let's see who is up the road here. Maybe they're trying to get, it might be, who is it? Is it, I don't know who that was. Went by too fast. In any case, brought back and left for dead. JC's power, look at that, in the 500s up there. No one's really going to challenge him at this point. Ron's power, 30 seconds, 448, so it's no joke. Justin throwing it down up there, so he too must be in the 400s, as people are just really just drilling it at this point. And like I'm way back there. You can see my power in the 160s because I basically shut it down. Not going for this one. Did my work at the front, but just want to kind of maintain contact. Getting near the sprint, JC doing the thing, and JC kind of pulls off, not actually going, because there's really no defined end to this sprint zone. And maybe we should declare something. It used to be the top of the hill. Maybe that mailbox should be it. If people want an official sprint zone into this one, we should probably think about that and get that codified. But until we do, no one's been complaining. So here we go. So let's just fast forward a little bit. We have the little regroup period. Life is good. And now we head down. There's a good shot of me. And the only reason I'm showing this is because there's a shot of me sitting next to the legendary JC. We're chatting about what's going on. Life is good. And you can see as an example of how to ride handlebar to handlebar, keep a reasonable distance in between you. If you can ride in between the two riders that are doing the whole lead, then you're too far apart. So anyway, we're catching people that are up the road. Let's fast forward a little bit. We're going to get to the stop sign, and it's go time. We're off to the stop sign, and we're going to fast forward a little bit as people coagulate. A little bit of pace lining here. Maybe I want to back up on some of that pace lining a little bit. So here we are trying to get organized. We're not quite 2x2. And you'll notice, like in the beginning of the ride, it's sweet. Everybody 2x2. Everybody's riding correct. Everybody's coming correct. But now it's like, maybe I don't want to be too close to the front. That's too much work. I'll let gaps open up. I don't care if I'm strong. I'll let the other people suffer. And then people like accelerate like really hard and whatever. But that hasn't happened yet. But anyway, looks like we're like starting to get together. And I think there's the call to rotate here. And let's see what's going on. Ron's nice and smooth. He's not making a quick jump, which I like. The gentleman in the red, that's Fred, probably should have stayed on the wheel of the people in front. If you're in the seating line, stay on the wheel in front. But we are rusty here. Like, there's a lot of people that have actually never done that. You can see Danny trying to get people, come on, guys, let's rotate. You know how to do this. And it looks like Mitch stands up to accelerate. No, don't do that. You want to be smooth. And certainly don't go up there and coast too much. Like, keep pedaling. So you can see Ron had to jack it up like a mile an hour just, to get up there. And I get it. Maybe we're trying to bring up the speed. But until then, it needs to be like smoothness, no quick accelerations. Don't fill in the gaps if there's like a bike length or two, because that typically means somebody's smart and they are closing the gap slowly. And when you move over from the receding line into the ascending line, it just kind of bones things. Now, if you're in a sprint zone, that's different. But when you're trying to have a cooperative effort, and you see the speed here, like 22, we should be slowing down a little bit up here. But, we're getting there. We are getting there. You can see there's no one else coming through here. Notice the speed, 21. And we got Greg doing the right thing. And we're doing 22 or so. And he's coming through slowly like he should. There's no need to be racing to the front. And this is something that the noobs need to kind of learn. That You know, it's not just jump to the front because it just causes chaos. And the only reason it seems to work for some of these people, because normally, like, right, it's like TTH or OCR, you're going so effing fast, you can't accelerate. So people think they know what they're doing because it seems like it works when everyone's going fast. So, like, there's Kathy going on the front nicely and smoothly. You know, she has this tendency to point that she's coming over. That's not necessary. That's kind of like understood. That's the deal. Because taking your hands off the handlebar, especially when you're at the front. So there's yours truly with the Teletubby camera on and my little radar, keeping a reasonable distance here. I think Daniel's a little close. Is my wheel overlapping? Oh no, I see what he's doing. There's the railroad tracks up here and he wants to get some eyesight. That's cool. Yeah, like I'm not a big fan of ramming and thumping over those railroad tracks. Some people hit it and then just a slight acceleration just causes like kerfuffle as you have to scramble to catch the guys up front because, people think that this should be a sprint zone. In any case, we continue our little practice. I don't continue my critique here. 22, it's not that fast, but it's okay. And this part looks okay, and maybe I won't ramble on about this because we'll get on to the actual like sprint zone piece. We're doing some stuff. We're coming near the end here. Ron's doing his turn. By this point, maybe we've gotten a little better at it. The group's sort of nice, a little far apart here, but at least people are more or less staying on the wheels in front. But you can see it's like kind of raggedy compared to like previous videos that I've posted. But we're getting there. It's, you get new people that don't know what they're doing, especially when the group is big. So come around the corner, and now what everybody's waited for, the third sprint zone. And I've got my camera back. It's interesting editing there. It's kind of time consuming for the computer to render all this stuff. But hopefully it's appreciated. And here we go. So Ron's at the front, heading into the new sprint zone. Everybody's pretty relaxed coming into this corner. And this is where we're supposed to regroup. And everyone's, this is the way it should be. There's some people that are still out by the yellow line further than I think they need to be. And yeah, maybe they think they're controlling the lane and no one's going to be around anyhow. But like some of it's like, I just don't know. It may not be best practices, especially if there is a car that decides that they want to try to, pass because somebody's got a wild hair up their ass. Anyhow, we make the corner. We're supposed to be kind of regrouping. I think maybe Doug or Mitch or somebody went up the road here, not waiting, not knowing this is a hard stop, but keeping a firm hand on the till, making certain, must be Mitch, that we're not going after people that don't properly wait. And we kind of want to keep this somewhat neutral until the bridge, just because it's kind of like errant. Looks like Ed coming back in the middle of the road. We're starting to bring people through, starting to bring it back together again. And this is one of these things that I notice people have like this individualist behavior. They're all about like scrambling to get the best position, et cetera, et cetera. And it's kind of like the strong riders tolerate it. We allow them to like sit in and don't fight them for position because, it's a good workout and it's not a race. But sometimes that behavior is annoying. So anyhow, looks like we've caught, it looks like, I think there's Mitch up there, and it's pretty good. Most people are in a line here. They got those cones off to the right. Got the Ron cam up there. Yeah, you can see we're bringing back Mitch. He's pointing out stuff. That's good. There's the bridge, some more cones and stuff. And 24 is like a reasonable speed to head into that section where it's narrowed by the bridge. I've been through this section at like 28 miles an hour where it's like, it makes for a much better sprint zone, but this is like, there's not much shoulder here. And when you're going that fast and people get race brain, they start finding themselves in the middle of the road. And even though there's a lot of double yellow here for cars to pass, it's still not courteous. But back to the action, we're just sitting in. And at this point, I've got to go around Kathy because she's left too much of a gap. And the draft behind her and Matt, small as they are, is not that good. So I'm going to go fill that in because I noticed that like Kathy's not that comfortable sitting on a wheel. And I understand it. Like from a safety point of view, I mean, she has the strength to sit out there in the wind. And she has the strength and endurance to do that. However, maybe some of us don't. And I need to be in a reasonable position, because once a little bit of a gap opens up, if you're not playing heads up cycling, next thing you know, it's like 6 bite flanks. And if somebody like Ron or JC is hitting it, then it's like, ugh, you got to throw 700 watts down to close that gap. So here goes Ron. And I'm kind of taking it easy at this point. I'm like, I'm not following Ron's acceleration. I'm like, I got this. And it looks like at the time I didn't realize this was Elisa up there. So Ron's chatting with Elisa, and we're doing 27. And I'm still a little bit back from Ron, but I'm perfectly happy at 200 watts. This is not a heavy lift for me, even though my heart rate's creeping up. But let's talk about COVID. Interesting. I was looking at my Garmin data, heart rate variability, and yep, the last time I got COVID in December, January, my heart rate variability dropped, and it took it 5 or 6 months to come good. And again, when I had it in September when my brother came, it's like I'm still in that cycle. Anyhow, good shot of Elisa there in the stealth clothing. I always expect her to be in the red. And I was like, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? It looks familiar, but who is that? And then when it came up next time, I'm like, oh, that's Elisa. Anyway, finally I'm on Ron's wheel, doing reasonable wattage, 250 watts, heart rate 179. I'm good here. Matt's looking strong there, and he's getting a lot of camera time. So hopefully he'll see this. His form looks good. He's really smooth, doesn't make jerky moves, which is good. And everybody's strung out here. Now my heart rate's up to 180. And for some reason, I wasn't feeling horrible here. And I'm guessing maybe I've got the ability to go a little deeper, especially now that I'm warmed up. I really don't feel like I want to go for this sprint here, but I figure I'll just sit behind Ron and wait for people to go, because I've gotten my good workout. Let's see, JC's 30-second wait. Look at that, only 188 compared to mine. So JC is way back there. And you can see the benefit of the draft. I mean, this really illustrates, and I can't point this out enough. People will think well, you're in the draft, you're not number one. No, further back, you're better. And here goes the attack. I see 760 watts by JC, and there he goes. Off the front, past the Ron cam, it looks like there goes Carrie, Fred, Marcelo, Justin, Brendan, and everybody else. And I'm kind of just sitting here. Could I have gone out into those shenanigans? Yeah, but I'm good. So, shutting it down now. I'm going to do enough. Looks like Ron decided to go with it. But still, you can see the gap between everybody and all the work that Ron was doing. Ron's power looks good. And you can see how easy it is for the Johnny-come-lately, wheel suckers to just do whatever. Matt and Mitch and everybody go past me, and I'm good. And here we go, into the corner. So we're done with this one. Everyone looking strong. Jamie coming through. Some people take the road. I still don't like taking the road. You're taking a risk. With those trucks and everything, better to take the sidewalk. Don't be stupid, but it's your life. So anyway, into my rambling. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that. Until next time, peace out.